Back in 1914, Germany was on top of the world. It was a powerhouse of industry, a giant in science, a real symbol of modernity. So, how on earth did this nation decide to risk absolutely everything on a catastrophic war? A war that would go on to define the entire 20th century. Okay, let's really dig into that question and unpack the fears and the ambitions that led Germany to make this incredible gamble. This picture, wow, it just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the paradox of the era. You've got future enemies, Kaiser Wilhelm II and a young Winston Churchill, standing together reviewing troops. It's this snapshot of a Europe right on the brink, a whole continent where incredible power and this deep, gnawing insecurity were living side by side, especially inside the German Empire. All right, to really get why Germany made this gamble, we've got to pop the hood on this economic and military giant. And what you find when you look inside is that underneath that powerful, confident exterior was a deeply anxious and, frankly, authoritarian political system. Now, here's where the German economy gets really interesting. They had this unique alliance, something you didn't see in other countries. You had the old landowning aristocracy. These guys were called the Junkers, and they actually partnered up with the new titans of heavy industry. This marriage of rye and steel created this ridiculously powerful economic bloc that was protected by the government, and it just reinforced this militaristic, top-down state. And what this all meant was, yeah, Germany had an elected parliament, the Reichstag, but it was basically for show. The real power, we're talking the power to name the chancellor, command the entire army, and decide foreign policy, that all belonged to one guy, the Kaiser. So the government answered to him, not to the people. This created this elite circle that was totally backward-looking, obsessed with the military, and completely disconnected from any kind of democratic process. Okay, so let's get to the heart of the problem. You have to imagine Germany's leadership was trapped inside this pressure cooker of two huge interlocking fears. And these fears were pushing their entire foreign policy towards a really, really dangerous place. So, on one side, you had this massive economic anxiety. I mean, Germany's economy was exploding, but that meant it needed more and more foreign raw materials to keep the whole thing going. Their leaders were terrified of being encircled, of a world carved up into economic empires by Britain, France, and the US, effectively locking Germany out. Then, on the other side, you have this growing strategic anxiety. That Franco-Russian alliance was a nightmare scenario, a potential two-front war. And what made it worse? Russia was modernizing its railways like crazy, and France was beefing up its army. The German military felt like its clock was ticking, that its window of being the strongest was closing fast. So what does all this boil down to? When you combine that terror of being economically strangled with the fear of becoming militarily weak, you end up in a pretty scary place. For Germany's elite, this idea of a preventive war, a quick, decisive strike before it's too late, well, it started to sound less like a crazy risk and more like the only logical option left on the table. And that brings us to the summer of 1914. You have this ticking time bomb, and then the spark. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Now, that wasn't the deep-down cause of the war. For Germany, it was the perfect excuse. It was the moment they'd been waiting for to finally execute their high-stakes gamble to dominate the continent. Just look at how fast this whole thing escalates. Germany gives Austria-Hungary a blank check, basically telling them, do whatever you want, we've got your back. This encourages them to give Serbia an ultimatum that was literally designed to be rejected. So when Russia starts mobilizing to protect its ally, Serbia, boom, Germany uses that as the pretext to declare war not just on Russia, but on France, too. Every single step was a calculated move to make sure a huge war would break out and that it would happen on Germany's terms. And this was their big move, their master stroke, or so they thought, the Schlieffen Plan. It was designed to solve that whole two-front war problem. The logic was simple, if a little crazy. Throw almost all of your soldiers to the west, smash through neutral Belgium to crush France in just 6 weeks, and then turn everybody around to face the huge but slow-to-mobilize Russian army in the east. It was a total all-or-nothing roll of the dice. And listen, this wasn't just a plan for a quick victory and then everybody goes home. No, the scope of what Germany wanted to do after the war, it's absolutely breathtaking. It reveals that this was never about defense. It was about total, absolute domination. And if you want the proof, well, here it is. It's laid out in a document called the September Program. The German government wrote this up in September 1914, back when they were totally confident they were about to win. It is a detailed, step-by-step blueprint for a brand new European order, with Germany controlling everything. The plan was incredibly specific. We're talking annexing France's iron fields to supercharge German industry, turning Belgium into a puppet state to control the coastline, seizing French ports, creating a massive German-led economic bloc called Middle Europa to basically control the entire continent's economy, and finally, just breaking Russia's power in the east for good. This was a plan for permanent German rule. But that grand plan collided with a brutal reality. The dream of a quick, glorious war just unraveled into a total nightmare of slaughter and stalemate that nobody had ever seen before. This contrast just says everything, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the propaganda, these heroic posters calling young men to a glorious adventure. And on the other side, the reality. Men cowering in muddy holes in the ground, with shells exploding all around them. The whole idea of a short, mobile war was just completely shattered, almost from day one. So why did it all grind to a halt? Well, in a word, technology. The defensive firepower of the machine gun and heavy artillery was just overwhelming. Any army that dared to go over the top and advance across open ground was just mowed down. By Christmas of 1914, the fast-moving war they had all planned for was dead. In its place was this static, locked-in network of trenches that stretched all the way from Switzerland to the sea.
600,000.
600,000. Just let that sink in for a second. That was the cost in dead and wounded for the British and French armies in just one battle, the Battle of the Somme. And what did they get for it? 7 miles of cratered mud. This number just drives home the insane, unimaginable human cost of this new kind of industrial warfare. It was a war of pure attrition, where victory was measured in yards and paid for with human lives. In the end, Germany's gamble failed, and it failed spectacularly, leading to its own collapse and revolution. But it leaves us with this huge, lingering question. How could the deep-seated fears and wild ambitions of just one nation's elite drag the entire world into a conflict so devastating that we are still living with its consequences today?